I've decided to start a new life without you." The words cut through the ambient chatter of the upscale restaurant like shattered glass. We had gathered to celebrate my daughter's college graduation. Gregory, my husband of 28 years, stood tall, champagne glass raised, his voice calm but cruel. The toast to Amelia's achievements had been replaced with his personal announcement. Forks froze mid-air. Conversations died. 50 pairs of eyes locked on me, hungry for drama, for a meltdown, for tears. But I didn't give them the satisfaction. I smiled. "Congratulations on your honesty. My name is Bianca Caldwell. I'm 54 years old, and until this moment, I had played the role of the devoted wife and mother to perfection. I had shelved my dreams to support Gregory through 3 failed business ventures, 2 career pivots, and countless finding himself phases. I raised our brilliant daughter, Amelia, who sat beside me, her graduation cap still slightly askew, her face frozen in disbelief. From the corner of my eye, I caught a flicker of movement. Cassandra Wells, Gregory's much younger girlfriend, shrinking into her seat at a back table. The same Cassandra who had attended our Christmas parties, who once called me for career advice. The same one who now sat with people I had called friends for decades, friends who apparently knew and stayed silent with calm precision. I reached into my handbag and pulled out a sealed cream-colored envelope. I placed it beside Gregory's plate. "What's this?" he asked, his smile faltering. "Something for you to read later," I said, voice smooth as silk. Then I turned to Amelia, kissed her cheek, and whispered, "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. This day still belongs to you." I stood up, straightened my dress, faced a room of stunned faces, and said, "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." And I walked out, head high, back straight. Not broken, reborn. As the restaurant doors swung closed behind me, muffling the gasps and murmurs, the thick Augusta summer heat hit me like a wall. But I welcomed it. For the first time in years I could breathe. Behind me, the door burst open. "Bianca?" Gregory's voice, once confident, now cracked, shrill. "What the hell is this? What have you done?" I didn't turn around. I kept walking. A small, satisfied smile curled on my lips. The envelope I had left behind, it held the beginning of his downfall. Because while Gregory played the dreamer, I had been the planner, the practical one. The one who saved for Amelia's college while he lost money chasing passion projects. I had spent 20 years managing our finances, so when money started disappearing from our joint accounts, I noticed. And instead of confronting him right away, I began to document, to build a case, to plan my revenge. I found everything. The hidden bank account, the luxury gifts, the beachfront property, the text messages left open on his unlocked phone. "Tomorrow, we'll finally be free." She'll never see it coming. But he forgot something. The prenup, signed 28 years ago when I had more family money than him, his idea. Ironically, it included a fidelity clause, and I had the receipts. All of them. I hired a lawyer, filed for divorce before graduation day, let the papers sit in court, filed, sealed, timed like a perfect symphony. Gregory thought he was delivering the final blow, but I was already 3 steps ahead. I didn't go back to the restaurant. I drove home the beautiful Colonial in Augusta he had already promised to Cassandra. I walked through the front door like I owned it. Because I did. Upstairs, his suitcases were already packed, hidden in the closet, prepped for his dramatic exit the next day. How poetic. He had packed everything except for the part where I wasn't broken. My phone buzzed nonstop. Friends. Gregory's sister. Even Amelia. I replied to only one. "I'm okay. This isn't your burden. Enjoy your day. We'll talk tonight. I love you." 3 hours later, Gregory's car skidded into the driveway. The front door slammed open. "Bianca!" He was shouting now. "Bianca, what the hell did you do?" I was ready, because this wasn't the end of my story. This was only the beginning. "Bianca!" His voice thundered through the house, bouncing off the high ceilings and polished floors. "Where are you?" I sat in the living room, perfectly composed, reviewing legal documents on my laptop. As his footsteps grew louder, I calmly closed the lid. Gregory stormed in, face flushed with fury, the cream-colored envelope now crumpled in his hand. "What the hell is this?" he barked, waving the divorce papers. "You served me today? Of all days?" I didn't flinch. I thought it aligned perfectly with your timeline. I replied coolly. "You wanted to start a new life. I'm simply helping expedite the process." His jaw clenched. "You had no right, I had every right." I cut in, voice razor sharp. "Just as you had every right to choose Cassandra. We all make choices, Gregory." He straightened suddenly, smugness creeping back into his eyes. "The prenup expired years ago. Any decent lawyer will tell you that." I allowed myself a small, measured smile. "Actually, it didn't." I stood slowly and walked toward him. "Section 12, you remember that one? It clearly states the fidelity clause remains active for the duration of the marriage." I tilted my head. "Your lawyer would have caught that, if you'd bothered to consult one." His face went pale, and just like that, the reality landed. The prenup he insisted on to protect his future wealth was now going to cost him everything. The Husethi vacation property in Savannah, his share of our retirement account, his champagne-soaked speech at the restaurant. It had become the most expensive toast of his life. Gregory slumped onto the couch, the fight draining from him. "You can't do this to me," he whispered. I stayed standing. "We built this life together," he added, voice trembling. "And you chose to burn it down," I said softly. "Just not in the way you'd planned." His phone buzzed in his pocket. Again. He glanced, then ignored it. We both knew who it was. Cassandra. Wondering where her knight in shining coward had gone, he tried a different tone, now softer, rehearsed. "You've always been calculating, Bianca. But this is cold. What about our history? 28 years together, does that mean nothing to you?" I studied him, this man I had loved for nearly 3 decades. The one who held my hand through 2 miscarriages before Amelia was born. The one who once surprised me with a weekend trip to Charleston for our 10th anniversary. When had that man vanished? Or had he always been this person, and I had simply loved him too much to see it? I exhaled. "Our history meant everything to me," I said. "That's why your betrayal cut so deep." He softened for a second, sensing an opening. "Then maybe we can fix this," he said, leaning forward. "I made a mistake, Bianca. People make mistakes." I shook my head slowly. "This wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. One that spanned over a year. You siphoned money, looked at property with her, and you planned your big exit speech on our daughter's graduation day, knowing it would humiliate me." His face twisted. "You're exaggerating." I picked up my phone. "Am I?" I tapped play. His own voice filled the room. "After the graduation, I'll tell her. It's over. A public setting's better. She won't make a scene." Then Cassandra's voice. "And she still doesn't know about the money." Gregory's voice again. "None. Bianca trusts me completely. That's her weakness." His mouth dropped open. "You recorded me? That's illegal." "Not in Georgia," I said calmly. "One-party consent and in our own home. Perfectly legal. And no, I didn't record your private moments with Cassandra. I'm not cruel. Just the parts where you plotted to defraud me." Gregory stood, suddenly frantic. "I need to make some calls." "Of course." I stepped aside. "Your attorney might be a good start." "Oh, and just so you know, I'll be staying at Diana's tonight." He froze. "Diana's? My sister's house?" I nodded. "Yes, she's quite upset with you, actually." His face twisted in disbelief. "She saw you and Cassandra last Christmas. She didn't tell me at first. She confronted you, and you promised her it was over. When she realized you lied, she came to me." Another hit. Another thread of control unraveled. Gregory sat back down, defeated, breath heavy. I turned toward the door, then paused. "You were right about one thing. I am calculating." I looked over my shoulder. "That's why I won't just survive this, Gregory. I'll thrive." Gregory sat motionless, the weight of betrayal pressing down on him like a collapsing roof. "Even Diana," he muttered. "My own sister?" He stared at the floor, stunned. "Everyone's betraying me." I raised an eyebrow. "Ironic, isn't it?" I picked up my purse and the overnight bag I had packed earlier, prepared for this exact moment. You have until tomorrow evening to collect your things, I said calmly. After that, the locks changed. As I walked toward the door, his voice followed me, now laced with desperation. What about Amelia? He called out. Have you even thought about how this affects her? That did it. I stopped. My composure cracked. Just for a second. I turned, eyes blazing. Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Gregory. You weren't thinking about her when you were whining and dining Cassandra, or promising her beachfront views and king-size delusions. His phone buzzed again. He looked this time and groaned. Problem? I asked, already knowing the answer. Cassandra's at the apartment. She's moved in. I almost laughed. Instead, I smiled, slow and measured. The apartment you put in both your names? The lease you signed last month? He nodded, confused. I tilted my head. Might want to check with the leasing office. That application? Flagged for credit issues. Never approved. The agent called the house to verify details. I handled it myself. And with that, I opened the front door. Gregory stood frozen, staring at the reality unraveling in front of him. His new life was already crumbling. Diana lived in a charming bungalow near the university where she taught literature. She met me at the door with a fierce hug. I just got off the phone with Amelia, she said, pulling me inside. Are you okay? Better than I expected, I admitted, following her into the kitchen where a bottle of wine was already breathing. Diana poured 2 glasses. I never thought Gregory would make such a spectacle, she said, shaking her head. A restaurant? In front of everyone? He's lost his damn mind. I took the glass, sighing. It was calculated. A public rejection, so I couldn't respond without looking unhinged. Her jaw tightened. My brother always loved drama. But this is a new low. We settled into her sunroom, a cozy haven of potted plants and overloaded bookshelves. She had never married, choosing independence and academia over partnership. I had sometimes envied that. What exactly did you put in that envelope? She asked. I told her every detail. The divorce filing, the evidence of financial deception, and most importantly, the prenuptial agreement. Her eyes widened. Then she laughed, low and bitter. The prenup? I remember when he insisted on that. Father had just given him the seed money for his first business, and he was so paranoid about protecting it. She swirled her wine. And now it's come full circle. Beautifully poetic. My phone rang. Amelia. I took a deep breath and answered. Mom. She said immediately, voice tight with emotion. I'm coming to end Diana's. Honey, you don't need to. I'm already on my way. She cut me off. Dad's telling everyone you've lost your mind. That you've been scheming. He's saying awful things. Of course he was. Gregory never took responsibility. He rewrote reality to cast himself as the victim. Let him talk, I said gently. The truth always surfaces. 20 minutes later, Amelia walked through the door still in her graduation dress. Mascara streaked from crying. She rushed into my arms like she used to as a little girl. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice muffled against my shoulder. I held her tight. Because I didn't want to ruin your final semester, I whispered. You worked too hard for this day. She pulled back. Eyes red but fierce. Well, Dad ruined it anyway. We moved to the living room. I told her everything, the affair, the money, the plan to blindside us both. She listened in silence. I knew something was off with him, she finally said. He was always distracted, always texting. But I never imagined. None of us want to see these things in people we love, Diana said softly. Just then, my phone buzzed again. A text. Philip Anderson, my attorney, emergency filing approved. Accounts frozen. Gregory now has restricted access, basic living expenses only. Property transactions blocked pending hearing. I showed the message to Diana and Amelia. Amelia nodded, her jaw tight. Good. He deserves it. I smiled at her loyalty, but I wasn't naive. He's still your father, I reminded gently. And no matter what happens next, you don't have to choose sides. She leaned against me again, her hand in mine. I already have. Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us, I said softly. Amelia shook her head, her voice tight with restrained emotion. Maybe someday, she whispered. But right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning, Mom. Told me how proud he was. While planning to blow up our family, eh? Few hours later, before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Diana rose and returned moments later. Her expression grim. It's Gregory, she said. And he's not alone. I stood, bracing myself. Gregory entered the living room with Cassandra trailing behind him. She looked uneasy, shifting from foot to foot, her eyes scanning the room like a trapped animal. She was 37, not exactly a trophy wife, but young enough to make a statement. Gregory, on the other hand, looked livid. The desperation from earlier had hardened into fury. Bianca, he snapped, this insanity needs to stop. Unfreeze the accounts. Let's discuss this like reasonable adults. Before I could answer, Amelia stood, not beside me, in front of me. Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before you humiliated my mom in front of 50 people. Gregory blinked, startled like he'd only just noticed she was in the room. Amelia, this doesn't involve you. Her voice sharpened like broken glass. Doesn't involve me? You blew up our family on my graduation day. Of course it involves me. Cassandra touched his arm, whispering, Greg, maybe we should go. He shook her off. No, I'm not leaving until Bianca agrees to be rational. Diana stepped forward, arms crossed. My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person in this room, she said coldly. You, Gregory, are the one who turned your life into a tabloid headline. I stayed seated, calm, watchful. For years I'd been the peacemaker, the glue. But I was done with damage control. I was done cleaning up Gregory's messes. The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing, I said firmly. That's in 3 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division then. Gregory sputtered. 3 days. What am I supposed to live on? I shrugged. You've got your personal account. The one you've been funneling money into behind my back. That should keep you comfortable. For now. Cassandra's head snapped toward him. You have a separate account? With how much in it? The cracks were forming. Gregory ignored her. This is vindictive, Bianca. This isn't you. I smiled, slow and cold. Maybe you never really knew me, I replied, just like I clearly never really knew you. Amelia turned to Cassandra, eyes burning. Did you know he was going to humiliate my mom like that? During my graduation celebration? Cassandra's face flushed. She looked down. I thought he'd talk to her privately. That announcement, it was unexpected. Gregory shot her a glare. Their alliance, once smug and strong, was unraveling. I think you both should leave, Diana said sharply. You've upset Amelia enough for one day. Amelia, Gregory pleaded, you have to understand relationships evolve. People grow apart. But my daughter's face had turned to stone. What I understand, she said, voice steady, is that you're a coward. You couldn't even give Mom the decency of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to pay for textbooks because you told me money was tight. Gregory stammered. That's not how it was. It's exactly how it was. She snapped. Please leave, Dad. I can't even look at you right now. Silence swallowed the room. Gregory stared at her, eyes wide, then turned defeated. Cassandra followed, quiet and pale. To the door. He paused and looked back. This isn't over. Bianca, I'll fight you on this. I met his gaze without blinking. You're welcome to try. When the door finally closed behind them, Amelia collapsed beside me on the couch, tears spilling freely. I've never talked to Dad like that in my life. I wrapped an arm around her. Sometimes doing the right thing hurts, sweetheart. Diana returned, setting down 3 fresh glasses of wine. She raised hers. To new beginnings. I raised mine too. Indeed. 3 days later, preliminary hearing. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when we walked into the courtroom. I arrived with my attorney, Philip Anderson, calm, prepared, composed. Gregory entered moments later with his lawyer, a young associate from a corporate firm, clearly uncomfortable outside his domain. Family law was not his specialty. Another poor decision in Gregory's crumbling strategy. The judge, an older woman with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, scanned the documents silently. Then she looked over her glasses at Gregory's attorney. "This prenuptial agreement appears to be in order," she said. "Do you contest its validity?" The young lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired, given the length of the marriage. It's been 28 years, the judge held up a hand. Section 18 states clearly, the duration remains in effect for the full term of the marriage. She turned to Gregory. "Did you not review this document recently, Mr. Caldwell?" Gregory said nothing. He looked at the floor. The judge continued. "Your client's infidelity, combined with financial concealment, gives grounds to enforce this clause in full. Unless there's evidence otherwise, I'm inclined to grant the emergency injunction." Gregory's lawyer attempted to protest, but the judge shut him down with a look. "Save it for trial, counselor. For now, the accounts remain frozen. The court recognizes Mrs. Caldwell's petition for protection of marital assets." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I simply exhaled. It had begun. "Your relationship with him is separate from what's happening between us," I said. Amelia shook her head. "Maybe someday. But right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning, told me how proud he was." Her voice cracked. "And the whole time, he was planning to blow up our family." Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. Diana answered it and returned moments later, face tight. "It's Gregory," she said. "And he's not alone." I stood, spine straight, as Diana led them in. Cassandra hovered behind him, visibly uneasy. She was 37, no trophy wife, but still 17 years younger than me. Shoulder-length blonde hair, nervous eyes, the kind of confidence that comes from never facing real hardship. Gregory, by contrast, looked livid. The desperation from earlier had curdled into anger. "Bianca, you need to stop this madness," he barked. "Unfreeze the accounts. We can talk like adults." Amelia rose before I could speak, standing protectively in front of me. "Maybe you should have thought about being an adult before detonating our family at my graduation." Gregory blinked, startled. "This doesn't involve you." "Doesn't involve me?" she snapped. "You nuked our entire family on my graduation day, and now you want to act like I'm a bystander?" Cassandra reached for Gregory's arm. "Greg, maybe we should." He shook her off. "I'm not leaving until Bianca stops this insanity." Diana crossed her arms. "My sister-in-law seems to be the only sane person here." "You lit this fire, Gregory." I remained seated, watching it all unfold. For years, I'd played the peacemaker, smoothed things over, bit my tongue. That chapter was over. "The accounts stay frozen until the preliminary hearing," I said coolly. "That's in 3 days. The judge will determine asset division." Then, Gregory's face twisted. "What am I supposed to do for 3 days?" "You have your personal account," I reminded him. "The one you've been funneling money into for over a year. That should hold you over." Cassandra's head snapped toward him. "You have a separate account? How much?" Cracks began to spider through their united front. Gregory ignored her. "This is vindictive, Bianca. This isn't you. Maybe you never really knew me," I said. "Just like I apparently never really knew you." Amelia turned to Cassandra. "Did you know he was going to do it like that? Announce it at my celebration?" Cassandra looked genuinely ashamed. I thought he was going to speak to your mom privately." "I didn't expect this." Gregory glared at her, betrayed. "I think it's time for both of you to leave." Diana cut in. "Amelia's had enough." Gregory turned back to Amelia, his voice desperate. "You have to understand, relationships evolve. People grow apart." Amelia's face hardened. "No, what I understand is that you're a coward. You couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation." "What I understand is I was working 2 jobs to pay for textbooks while you said money was tight and you were stealing from us." "Amelia, that's not how it's exactly how it was," she said, slicing his excuse in half. "Please leave, Dad. I can't even look at you right now." Silence. Gregory hesitated, then finally turned to go. Cassandra followed, saying nothing. At the door, he looked back at me. "This isn't over, Bianca. I'll fight you on this." I met his gaze. Steady, calm. "You're welcome to try." After the door shut, Amelia collapsed on the couch beside me, sobbing. "I've never talked to Dad like that. I wrapped an arm around her. Sometimes doing the right thing hurts. Diana brought fresh wine. To new beginnings, she said, raising her glass. Indeed, I thought. This ending was also a beginning. The hearing's preliminary hearing was set in a small courtroom on a rainy Tuesday. I arrived with my lawyer, Philip. Gregory, clearly scrambling, brought a corporate associate, not a family law expert. The judge, a sharp-eyed older woman, wasn't here for theatrics. This prenuptial agreement appears to be in order, she said, peering over her glasses. Do you contest its validity? Gregory's young lawyer cleared his throat. Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the duration of the marriage. The judge's brow arched. Section 18 says marriage plus any legal proceedings. There is no expiration date. Gregory leaned forward, whispering urgently to his increasingly nervous lawyer, and the judge continued. The evidence of systematic fund transfers clearly violates Section 23 regarding financial disclosures. She turned to Gregory. The joint accounts remain frozen. Mr. Caldwell's personal account stays accessible. The family home will remain with Mrs. Caldwell under the infidelity clause. Gregory flushed. This is outrageous. The judge's tone sharpened. Mr. Caldwell, I suggest you read the agreement you sign more carefully. This court will reconvene in 30 days. Followed as we exited. Gregory caught me in the hallway. Bianca. 28 years together. That has to count for something. It did. I said, stepping away. Until you decided it didn't. Word spread fast. Friends called some supportive, others nosy. I kept my dignity. Gregory and I are separating. These things happen. But Gregory's mask cracked. The successful businessman narrative unraveled. He couldn't buy Cassandra the beachfront property. The luxury car deposit got pulled. His accounts were tied up. Promises broken. 2 weeks later, Diana called. Guess what? Cassandra's gone. Moved out. I wasn't surprised, but I laughed. She told Jennifer she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. Typical. Gregory always did prefer fantasy over reality. Meanwhile, I rented a modest downtown office. I launched my dream consultancy. My first clients were women navigating divorce and widowhood. Women like me, Amelia, working in Charleston, called often. I'm so proud of you, Mom, she said. You're helping people during their worst. I'm doing what I wish someone had done for me. I told her, I'm just preparing women to stand on their own. Closure. Final hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary. Poetic. Gregory looked haggard. I later heard his business was struggling. Cassandra was already dating someone new, a real estate developer. Most of our friends had distanced themselves after learning the full story. The judge upheld everything. I retained the home, retirement, and 70% of joint investments. Gregory left with his personal belongings, a failing company, and a depleted private account. The prenup he once weaponized had become his own noose. Outside, he approached me once more. I made a terrible mistake, he said. Is there any chance? No, I said, kind but clear. That door's closed. He nodded. I understand. And for once, I believed him. Reinvention. 6 months later, Caldwell Financial Transitions was thriving. I'd expanded to a larger office and hired 2 associates. I helped women secure their financial futures. Amelia visited often. You know what's ironic? She asked one afternoon. If Dad had just been honest, he might have kept half. Sometimes people can't see past what they want in the moment. I replied. I had once defined myself by roles: wife, mother, peacemaker. Now, I was a mentor, a business owner, an advocate. The envelope I had handed Gregory that night wasn't just an escape plan, it was a key. And behind that locked door, I didn't just find revenge, I found myself.